Certainly. Here's an extended version of the classic fable, The Fox and the Grapes, with 900 words. Once upon a time, in a lush, sun-drenched vineyard nestled between rolling hills, there lived a cunning and sly fox named Felix. Felix was known far and wide for his cleverness, and he prided himself on being able to outwit any animal in the forest. One hot summer's day, as the sun bathed the vineyard in its golden rays, Felix was wandering through the rows of grapevines. The air was filled with the sweet scent of ripening grapes, and the vines were heavy with clusters of plump, juicy fruit. Felix's sharp eyes caught sight of the most beautiful bunch of grapes he had ever seen. They hung high on a trellis, glistening like drops of amethyst in the sunlight. Driven by his insatiable curiosity and desire for the sweet grapes, Felix decided to climb the trellis. With agile grace, he leapt and scrambled, but the grapes remained just out of his reach. He tried again and again, but each attempt ended in failure. Growing frustrated, Felix paused to catch his breath and wiped the sweat from his brow. He looked up at the grapes and muttered, "These grapes must be sour anyway. I don't need them." With that, Felix turned and walked away from the tantalizing grapes. His tail held high in feigned indifference. He tried to appear nonchalant, but deep down, he couldn't shake the longing he felt for those grapes. As Felix ventured deeper into the vineyard, he encountered a group of woodland creatures: a rabbit, a squirrel, and a raccoon. They had watched Felix's failed attempts to reach the grapes and couldn't help but chuckle at his misfortune. The rabbit, named Rosie, said, "Felix, it seems you had a tough time reaching those grapes. Are you sure you didn't want them?" Felix, not wanting to admit his true feelings, replied with a dismissive tone, "Those grapes were probably sour. I don't care for them at all." The squirrel, named Sammy, was skeptical. "Really, Felix? You're known for your cleverness, and we saw how much you tried to get those grapes. If you didn't want them, why did you even bother?" Felix felt a bit embarrassed now, but he stuck to his story. "I have better things to do than waste my time on unreachable grapes. Let's go find something more interesting to do." The raccoon, named Ralph, had been quiet all this while. He had observed Felix's determination and sensed that there was more to the story. He finally spoke up, "Felix, it's okay to admit that you wanted those grapes. There's no shame in desiring something sweet and delicious." Felix hesitated, then sighed deeply. "All right, you got me. I did want those grapes, but I couldn't reach them, so I decided they must be sour." Rosie, Sammy, and Ralph exchanged knowing glances. Sammy said, "Felix, it's okay to acknowledge your desires and limitations. If you really want those grapes, why not ask for help?" Felix considered their words. He realized that he had let his pride and stubbornness get in the way of something he truly wanted. Swallowing his pride, he turned back toward the trellis. "I suppose you're right," he admitted. "I do want those grapes, and I shouldn't let my pride stand in the way of getting what I desire." With newfound determination and humility, Felix approached the trellis once more. This time, he didn't try to jump or scramble. Instead, he called out to his friends for help. Together, they formed a makeshift tower with Sammy and Ralph standing on Rosie's shoulders, and Felix climbed atop them. With their combined efforts, Felix finally reached the grapes. As he plucked the sweetest grape from the bunch and savored its juicy goodness, Felix couldn't help but smile. He had learned an important lesson that day, that it's okay to admit your desires and seek help when needed. And most importantly, he had discovered that the grapes were indeed sweet, sweeter than he had ever imagined. Felix's friends cheered and celebrated his victory, and from that day on, Felix was known not only for his cunning but also for his willingness to ask for help when it mattered most. And whenever he passed by the vineyard, he would share the sweet grapes with his friends, a reminder that sometimes the most delicious fruits in life are the ones we can't reach on our own.